Hey, how's it going out there? I just want to let you know that the reason I'm having to do this audio recording is because YouTube heard the background music in my video and muted it and blocked it from most countries. And rather than just put up a muted video, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to record and talk to you while I do it. What you see going on in the video here is I'm making a sled. And as I just realized, oh yeah, dummy, you got to countersink the screws. I did that, wasn't thinking, and then I had to, on the fly, figure out how to countersink it without a countersink because in my new shop, I don't have all my tools yet. So I had to figure out a way to do it, and as I got over there looking in the screws, I realized I did not have a countersink. So, I'm going to come up with something here in just a second and use my Craig pocket hole bit and countersink screws with it. Yeah, I thought it was pretty nifty when I came up with the idea. Now you may hear my coffee in the background and you may hear my wife occasionally, but fair warning, it's only because the kids are still in the bed. Otherwise, y'all would be hearing a lot more of that in the background than just coffee or my wife speaking to me. As I said, this wasn't planned. I did not intend to record an audio track to overlay on this. But this gives me an opportunity to give you some details on what I'm planning to do with the channel. Right now, I'm a one-man show. I do everything myself. I don't have a helper. I don't have a cameraman. I don't have anything. And I'm just getting restarted in woodworking. I currently still have a full-time job as a machinist at a local machine shop, C&S Machine Company in Thomasville, Georgia, if you want to do some business with us through the machine shop. But I do this on the side for now. I tried to go full-time with it, and I didn't lose anything. But let's just say I went and rented a shop and everything else, and I should have kept it in the shed outside like this. I've got a portable building that I use for my shop again, and for $500 a month, you really can't beat it. Needless to say, the shop that I had rented was $1,200 a month, and it was in Oclotney, which is about 20 miles round trip every day, and that plus the rent and the electric bill and everything else, it pretty much put me out of business, which is why I'm now working at C&S Machine Shop. But needless to say, what I got here is my planer sled. I've never done a planer sled before. I've never had the need for a planer sled before. I've never gotten wood that was this screwed up before. This wood is really cupped and twisted, and a lot of it I decided not to use the planer sled because in my opinion a planer sled's more headache than it's worth. Sometimes it's better just to split the wood, which also splits the cupping, and then join it afterwards. The only problem with that is when you're doing a build like I'm doing right now, I'm on a deadline. All that hard maple you see there in the corner on the floor is for a table job that I sold to a restaurant here in town. There's 4 tabletops. I'm going to recycle the legs off the current table. Man, look at that cup. That's an 1/8 to 3/16 of an inch cupping in that board. That's pretty bad. But I wind up not using the sled, and it takes it from 8/4 down to 6/4 thick afterwards when I get the cup out. But the owner of the restaurant is fine with the tables only being a 1 5/8 to an inch and a half thick. He's fine with that. I'll level them out. They'll probably wind up just under 1 1/2 at 1 3/8. But the customer's fine with that. Look at that one. That one's even worse. That's 3/16 to 1/4 right there. And that board also has some twist in it too. But I get it straight. Oh, as far as the channel goes, I've decided that once I reach 2,500 subscribers, I'm going to give away a cutting board. hard maple and black walnut cutting board, transition board, that changes from walnut to hard maple as it goes across. I like it. It's a beautiful board, and I'm going to give that away when I hit 2,500 subscribers. And I think I'm going to do that every 2,500 subscribers. So from now on, so every time I pick up 2,500 subscribers, I'm going to give something away. It could be anything from a joiner to something I made in the shop, like a cutting board, a charcuterie board. I'm not going to give away a table, but I might give away, I ain't going to say I won't give away a table. Let me retract that. I'm going to give something away every time. If I can give away a joiner or a planer or something like that, depending on how big my fan base has gotten, I can definitely afford to give away a table. Now, this is actually the second project for a restaurant I've done. The first one is still being edited. I built 13 tables and 2 counters for another restaurant here in town out of Eastern Red Cedar. And I know everybody's thinking, why? Well, for one, it's gorgeous. I'll include a picture at the end of this video now that I'm thinking about it, and show the restaurant after the fact. But this project's the first one that I went into with the sole purpose of filming while I'm doing it. And I'm going to be honest with you, it's slowed me way down. The whole reason I'm having to do this, though, is because of YouTube and blocking my video. So I completely deleted it, pulled it down, and now I know I can't listen to music in the shop while I'm working, or YouTube will mute my videos. They banned my video from the US over a song that was 12 seconds long. It was 10 to 12 seconds long. I can't remember which one. And they banned my video over it. Even though the planer drowned it out almost instantly, they still banned my video over it. I think that's ridiculous. If music is obviously in the background, then it should be considered background noise and not be flagged to where they ruin the entire video and experience over it. As you see here, cup side up, of course, and I'm planing it down to a level piece. That's the reason that stripe's coming up in the middle, as you see there. Now, as I get through these videos, they get more and more. There's going to be a part 2 to the planing, where I'm actually cutting boards on the table saw. It turns out that surge protector right there has an ampage protector in it, and I just tripped the surge protector. Now, I edited it out, but I actually spent like 30 minutes chasing breakers and all down, trying to figure out what caused this problem. You'll see me walk toward the door in a second, and then I edited it out. But I went inside, went into the house, went to the panel box, went everywhere that I had power connections to the shop at, looking for a trip breaker, and turns out it was that little box there with all the cords plugged into it. Now, once my wiring in the shop is connected to the pole, I won't have these issues any longer. But for now, I'm having to run off a couple extension cords while I wait for an electrician to show up, which shouldn't be very long, because the housing market around here slowed down so much that they're starting to get caught up. See? Light come back on. It was all from the surge protector. But I'm going to try it again here in a minute and run it through like that, because it hadn't clicked on me yet at the time that it was a surge protector. I'm going to get 1 or 2 more passes out of it. See, I unplugged the fan thinking that there was just a hair too much coming through it. And that was a bad idea, because it's still going to trip it here in a minute. I'm going to have 2 or 3 bad trips before I finally figure out what's going on and plug straight into it and skip and completely eliminate that surge box. Plug straight into the heavy duty badass extension cord, pun intended. And because that is a 12 gauge badass extension cord, And Badass is the company name, so hopefully YouTube won't edit me out for that. I've got a link in the description to my Badass affiliate, actually to that very cord. So be sure and click the link and help support the channel. I'm going to eventually start doing woodworking classes, showing people how to use planers and joiners. And while I may not be a 100% veteran at it, I'm getting paid to do it, so I must be pretty good at it. This planer I also discovered when I blew my vacuum up planing these boards. And I don't mean blew it up as in destroyed it. I mean blew it up as in the top come off and sawdust went everywhere. This DeWalt planer has that turbo exhaust. It blows wood shavings faster than my vacuum could pick them up. In other words, it blows harder than my vacuum sucks. So I eventually just take the hose off the vacuum and route it out the window and fill my yard with wood chips. Pardon me. Sitting here drinking coffee and talking to you guys. But hey, hard maple wood chips, it could be worse. Eastern red cedar about kills me. I have to wear a respirator when I'm working with it. Luckily with hard maple I don't need one. I am looking at it because it just tripped again and it hadn't dawned on me. I don't believe. I wind up fixing it the next day by running the second extension cord out to the building and using that heavy duty Badass cord just for the planer. See, there's the vacuum getting unplugged. There's the planer getting unplugged. And I bypass the surge strip altogether. And I don't have any more issues. But I also don't have a vacuum running, and I'm blowing straight into the vacuum without it running. You do what you got to do, right? Eventually, when I get this whole making video thing down to a science, and I hope I do pretty quickly because I don't want to produce boring content, that this thing will flow and I'll be able to. I'm going to be honest with you now. There's a few YouTubers that I follow. Bourbon Moth is one of them. The Wood Whisperer is one of them. And John Mackle. I can never pronounce his last name. Sorry for butchering it there, John. But I also like what he does. And the funny thing about it is there's 3 totally different approaches to their videos. One of them's like a comic relief. That's Bourbon Moth. He tries to be funny as hell when he's doing his stuff, and it's cool. I like watching him because of it. The outlandish things he does, like the lawnmower tank, stuff like that. He emphasizes spending time with his child, and that is fantastic. I absolutely love the image he's portraying. The Wood Whisperer, he's all technical. He does a little humor here and there. I like the stuff on his wall, especially the fact that he's a Back to the Future fan. I love that. And unfortunately, I can't use any of my Back to the Future stuff because I don't want to look like I'm copying him. But anyways, and then you got John, who has a full-blown business shop. He's 100% business-oriented. He has built his stuff up huge, in my opinion. He's got 4 or 5 employees, cameramen, helpers. He's got one of the largest CNC routers I've seen on YouTube so far, and they do a lot of work. And I want to be a combination of all 3. I want to give you the technical side, I want to give you the funny side, and I want to give you the business side. John says he hired a business coach, and I'm sitting here going, the only thing I need help with is YouTube. YouTube is a different animal altogether. Now, see here, I flipped it over because I've got all the positive cup out. Now I'm working on the negative cup. You'll see here in just a second when it comes out the other side, either this time or the next time, you'll start to see the edges going down instead of the middle. Let's see what we got here. Yep, see where it got the edges on the left and right side of the board there? You barely see them? It's because I'm not taking very much at the time. What I'm trying to do here is not lose as much thickness as possible. I'm trying to save as much thickness as possible. And as you see it going through there, these boards have not been joined yet. I've found that it's faster and easier to not work twice. And after you get the faces of the board right, then you're going to have to do the edges again anyway. So why waste the time to run them through the joiner when you're going to turn around and run them through the planer? Now I'm doing the pencil trick here, and I also found out that yes, the pencil trick works. The pencil trick has its point, but when you're planing, it's not as important as when you're sanding. If you're sanding, the pencil trick is a must. But when you're planing, it's not as necessary because the board itself, you can see the change in the wood very easily, just like you can here on the video. So you don't have to use the pencil trick on planing. See, the wide spotches where it took the pencil off, well, it's obvious. The blades cut it off. So that was a complete waste of time. 3 or 4 passes, the pencil marks are gone. And once all the rough wood's gone, well, obviously you got every bit of it anyway, because it ain't wider than the planer. So I'm just learning as I go, just every day learn something new. There's even in another video set of me planing where I took too much wood in one pass. I think I took a turn and a quarter, and that was a mistake. It didn't hurt anything except the board, and that one board came out just under a 1.5 inch thick, which was a complete accident. So it got cut up into strips. The way I'm planning on doing these tables is 4.5 inch wide strips, face grain, with a 1.5 inch wide edge grain separating them to break up the monotony. And I think you'll find that pretty interesting as well. Now, as soon as I'm done with this, I've got to sit here and merge these 2 videos together. Then I've got to run to town. I got to go to the big box store. I've got to go pick up a few little things. I've got to get my rollers installed in the table. And I'm going to make the roller video today while I'm working on my other stuff, because there's really no way to... That's me plugging up my vacuum to try and clear the line. I had not realized yet that the planer does better than the vacuum. I just see all the wood chips and I'm sitting there going, must be filling the tube up. That's what I was thinking. I had no idea that it was packing the vacuum, which was the exact opposite of my problem. And in another video, you see me, I take the lid off the vacuum and it's so packed in there that it's like it's spring loaded. Sawdust goes everywhere. I got 11 minutes to go. That's funny. My cell phone sound recorder is running exactly 1 second ahead of the video. So when the video ends, I can hit stop and this will all be done. And if I'm boring you, I'm sorry. That's not my intention. I did not intend to do audio overlays on my videos. That wasn't my point. I wanted to be able to talk to you as I did it. But can't do that. Well, finally got the cupping all out the board. Look at that pattern. Is that not a beautiful piece of hard maple? It's I dare say I want to call that spalted maple now. That is an amazing pattern board that I cut up. Yep, that one I believe gets all but 4 inches, 4.5 inches of, or 4 5/8 because I leave it an eighth long, longer than it should. Gets cut up on the table saw. Now, I'm not going to show you everything I do because that would just be boring to give you 12 hours of planing. But there is going to be 2 36 by 72 inch tables, 1 36 by 48 inch table, and then 1 24 inch by 186 inch wall mounted tables being built here for this order. So there's a lot more lumber than what you're seeing. But if I sat and I'd probably produce, even after editing, probably 10 hours of just milling. And I know that would drive you guys nuts to have to sit through 20-30 minute videos. I want to keep this as a 10-part or 5-part maybe. Actually, no, I want to keep this as a 4 to 5-part series. And I'm going to call it the Maryland's tables because the tables are going in Maryland, in Thomasville, Georgia. And if you need some more tables for your restaurant, please feel free to hit me up. Hit me up. The information to reach me can be found in the description, and it can be found other places as well. Like as soon as my website's up, you'll be able to email me directly. I'd prefer you email me through the company email, but you can also email me directly to my personal company email if need be. Now, as you know, the name of my company is Rose City Woodworks, LLC. We also do signs. The name of my company for a long time was Rose City Woodworks and Signs, LLC, which is a DBA. I just dropped the DBA and went back to doing Rose City Woodworks, LLC. Made up a new logo because having signs added to the name of the business made it a lot harder. But you guys get to see me do grocery store kits and everything else. When it comes to woodworking and signage, I do just about anything. The only thing I don't do is vehicle wraps. I design them, but I won't install them because I don't have time. And I also don't have the resources to produce the material. So I sub it out. But I can get vinyl, printed, cut, all that fun stuff. I can do lighted signs, all that fun. I do anything sign and woodworking, basically. But I prefer to stick to tables, cutting boards, charcuterieboards, serving trays. Tables are by far my passion. I love tables. I love counters too. And I also like islands. I don't know why, but I like islands and mini bars. The very first project I ever did that told me this is something I needed to do was actually at my restaurant. And yes, I used to own a restaurant. Me and my partner lost $58,000, but we could have lost a lot more than that. We kept it open for 8 months, and I pulled the plug because I didn't have any more money to put in it. But we was in a bad location, and that's a completely different story. All we had was pass-through traffic, so the traffic counts fooled us, or fooled me rather. My partner wouldn't have cared where we went, I don't believe. He just wanted to go somewhere. He wanted to do something. So we did it and we lost. But we both learned a lot. And maybe one day we'll do something again. Maybe not as partners. Maybe as partners. Maybe as owner-employee relationship. I don't know. We're still friends. We'll see how it goes. But like I said, just rest assured, all that hard maple will be used for these tables. Oh, already starting to cut the negative cup out. You can see it a little better from this angle. Now this really is, you do lose a pretty good amount of wood doing it this way. I lost roughly a half inch off these boards. They started out 8/4, and you know 8/4 could actually be 9/4. Here I am doing the pencil trick for no reason again. I'm going to spend a couple seconds marking up the board, and it was shortly after this I realized it was a waste of time. But needless to say, I'm doing it now. So now I'm also making my pencil marks really heavy. I wouldn't recommend you do that if you're sanding, because you could wind up, that stroke of that pencil, even though it's hard maple, could wind up being 4 or 5 thousandths of an inch and could really mess you up, because it only takes 15 thousandths to equal a 16th, if my math is correct. So, you know, you do that 2 or 3 times and you've thinned your board by 1/16 of an inch, and in which case you're going to have high spots and low spots everywhere. The trick to sanding is minimal. You want to disturb the surface as little as possible, but you still have to sand. That's the reason why I like to take my projects to another place here locally, which I will get a video of that with their permission, of course. And they've got a dual head 36-inch wide, drum sander, belt sander, wide belt sander. And only thing I dislike about that is once in a while they make me pay for a belt, and a belt's $150. So, and I know it's not really $150, but I don't have a $25,000 dual head 36-inch wide belt sander like they do. So they can charge pretty much what they want to. But about every other trip I'm buying a belt, and then I'm paying anywhere from $150 to $300 for them to finish my projects down to 120 grit. So, but when it comes out that belt sander, they're smooth, they're level, and if they see an issue in it, they also fix it. Like, for instance, I had a joint come loose one time in one of my Eastern Red Cedar tables. They pulled it out, set it to the side, and they put some glue in it and tightened it up and clamped it. And then the next day they finished sanding it, and they saved me some headache by helping me out there. They stopped that board from coming loose, and I'm glad they did, because it was that first job I did was a nightmare. It was originally supposed to have been 17 tables, 2 6-top, 4 tops, and when I say 4 top, I mean 4 people could sit at it. Anyways, needless to say, it wound up being 2 countertops and 13 tables. I traded 2 tables per counter, so I didn't have to build the 2 tables. And it worked out. We had enough lumber to do it all, thank God. But it took me 3 months to finish that first job. My very first woodworking job was huge. Way too big for one person. And I built this table that I'm working on now during that job. You can see where I painted, when I was cannibalizing their tables for legs and refinishing them and painting them and everything, just trying to get done. And I put their old tabletops to the side, put the new table legs onto the new Eastern Red Cedar tables, and man, it's gorgeous. But nonetheless, I noticed I'm sure you see those little square holes. Well, on another shot where you actually get to see the back side of the planer, you'll see more. There used to be one right where the planer is now sunk into the table. Let me explain what those are. Those are clamps. Those are clamping holes. See, I use this table to make a 196-inch bar top, butcher block bar top out of Eastern Red Cedar. And I set it up down the side of the table, and I put clamps on one side, and I didn't have a way to put clamps on the back side because it was sitting on the edge of the table. And I mean, it's 196 inches long. There's no way I could clamp it flat. So I built the table basically on its side in layers. And as one layer dried, I put up the next layer, put up the next layer. Well, the way I got around the clamping issue was to clamp through those holes. Every other clamp was through a hole like that. So I had alternating front and back all the way down to 196 inches until I ran off the table, which I did for about 4 foot on each end. And I alternated the clamps without the table for those, of course. You'll get to see that again here. And that's the end of the video. So here's the photo of the tables, the Eastern Red Cedar tables, just to give you an idea. When I get it edited down, it'll be done.